That's why all the stands in this kind of they're screwed up because people just move them without using the locks. Hare Krishna. Just Radha Madhava. You're done. It's okay to chant more, but we're done. Jaya Om Vishnupad Panamansa Pariprajakacarya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shama Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai Navadip Tham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamana Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari. Nothing wrong there, but still. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad-Bhagavatam 4:21-25. Tat 22 on the blackboard, I see. Okay. Even the demigods lie. Tasya 22? 20, that's 23, I'm sorry. Aham Dandadharo Raja Prajanam ihayojitaha Rakshita Vritidasveshu Setushu Stapita Pratak Aham Dandadharo Raja Prajanam ihayojitaha Rakshita Vritidasveshu Setushu Stapita Pratak Aham Dandadharo Raja Prajanami Hayojitaha Rakshita Vritidasveshu Setushu Stapita pratak. Ladies. Aham, I, Dandadharaha, carrier of the scepter. Raja, king. Prajanam, of the citizens. Iha, in this world. Yojitaha, engaged. Rakshita, protector. Vritidaha, employer. Sveshu, in their own. Setushu, respective social orders. Stapita, established. Pratak, differently. King Prithu continued, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, I have been appointed the king of this planet, and I carry the scepter to rule the citizens, protect them from all danger, and give them employment according to their respective positions in the social order established by Vedic injunction. Purport: a king is supposed to be appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to look after the interests of his particular planet. On every planet there's a predominating person, just as we now see that in every country there's a president. If one is president or king, it should be understood that this opportunity has been given to him by the Supreme Lord. According to the Vedic system, the king is considered a representative of Godhead and is offered respects by the citizens as God in the human form of life. Actually, according to Vedic information, the Supreme Lord maintains all living entities, and especially human beings, to elevate them to the highest perfection. After many, many births and lower species, when a living entity evolves to the human form of life, and in particular to the civilized human form of life, his society must be divided into 4 gradations as ordered by the Supreme Lord, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam, etc. Homa Yajna timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mayham Datati Shapadantikam Bande Hang Shri Guru Shri Jatapadakamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raganatan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopiha Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Prashabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hori Priye Vancha Kolpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Tipyevacha Patita Nam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. You might like to join me in making sure your phone is in silent mode. Aham danda dharo raja prajanami hayojitaha rokshita vrittida sveshu shetushu stapita pratak. Prithu says to the citizens, you're glorifying me, but I've just been engaged, yojita, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I'm not an independent agent, an independently glorious person. I'm just, as they say in the military, carrying out orders. I'm just doing what the Supreme Personality of Godhead has engaged me to do. But when one engages in this way, one becomes the representative of God. The spiritual master is the representative of God because he carries out the instructions, orders of God. The king, Naradeva, he's considered a representative of God. When Sanatana Goswami was skipping out on his government service to read Bhagavatam with the Brahmins, the king came to see what was going on, and all the Brahmins stood up. Although the king was a mlecha, they considered he's been appointed to his post by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so he's to be respected. Even if you look in the introduction or to the King James introduction or dedication of the King James English version of the Bible, they mention King James, by the grace of God, King of England. They acknowledge that he's gotten his position by the grace of God. Therefore, the kings were so much respected because they were considered to be representing God by various necessary functions, protecting the state, engaging the citizens, and so on. Then here, so I'm engaged as the protector, Rakshita, and Vrittida. Vrittida sveshu sheteshu, shetushu. My business, my orders are to engage everyone according to Chaturvarnam, the 4 orders of life. The 4 social orders are natural divisions of human society, and as declared by Prithu Maharaj, every man in his respective social order must have proper employment for his livelihood. It is the duty of the king or the government to ensure that the people observe the social order and that they are also employed in their respective occupational duties. Yata pravittir bhutanam yena sarvamidam tatam svakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vidati manava. By carrying out prescribed duties, every human being can become perfect by carrying out their prescribed duties to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In modern times, since the protection of the government or the king has been withdrawn, social order has practically collapsed. No one knows who is a Brahmin, who's a Kshatriya, who's a Vaishya, who's a Shudra, and people claim to belong to a particular social order by birthright only. It is the duty of the government to re-establish social order in terms of occupational duties and the modes of material nature. For that will make the entire world population actually civilized. If it does not observe the institutional functions of the 4 social orders, human society is no better than animal society, in which there's never tranquility, peace, and prosperity, but only chaos and confusion. Maharaj Prithu, as an ideal king, strictly observed the maintenance of the Vedic social order. In Ecclesiastes also, the author observes, I've seen servants riding on horses and princes walking on the ground. That means he's observed disruption of the social order. The princes should be on the horses, the servants should be walking on the ground. But we see the princes are in the saddle. Servants are in the saddle, the princes are walking on the ground. Everything's topsy-turvy. And when things are topsy-turvy, you can't have a proper society. These days we have Vaishyas and Shudras, or less, leading the government. What can we expect? They'll run it like a business. Or they'll just run it as a center for sense gratification, their own sense gratification. They won't know what the principles of Dharma they're supposed to follow, what the purpose of society is. They won't know who the living being is, who they are, who God is, what the relationship is. There won't be a purpose to their society other than let everybody have their slice of sense gratification. Then we'll have peace because no one will be too uppity, no one will be too disruptive, because then everybody gets a little chunk of something. That's all. But they don't know how to benefit the citizens, how to engage the citizens. Therefore, there's so much unemployment. And when they try to set things right, they just make things worse. They put the wrong people in the wrong posts for the wrong reasons. So the trained Kshatriya, who has power and culture, has to know who's meant for what and put the right people in the right spots. especially the Brahmins should be actual Brahmins, people who know, Brahmajanati iti Brahmana, who know what spirit is, who know what God is. And the Kshatriyas should be people who have the qualities of Kshatriya. Take charge mentality. Yudhe chapya palayanam, fearlessness. They're ready to take on anyone. Fearlessness, take charge mentality, power, soryam, tejo, determination, expertise, generosity. Kshatriyas should have these qualities. If they're not Kshatriyas, they shouldn't be in the Kshatriya position. Then the Vaishyas should be engaged in genuinely useful activity, raising, especially growing food, and providing the necessities for human civilization, not making money out of people by starting a big betting industry, big betting enterprise to pick people's pockets. That's not a contribution to the state. That's just stealing or making people miserable so that you can get more money. Even if people want it, it's not for their welfare. So the king or the president should disallow, no gambling, no intoxicants, no meat eating, no illicit sex. How much of the state treasury is, how much it suffers from this gambling industry, how much it suffers from intoxication. The links between crime and intoxication are clear. The links between illicit sex and intoxication are clear. Everything. But when there's no kshatriya, no one with guts and power, then all the rogues and thieves take advantage and exploit at the expense of others. So and then you get chaos and confusion, unemployment, or people wrongly occupying posts they're unfit for. So the duty of the king is to see sveshu setushu, that everyone is engaged in their own proper activity. Prajayate iti praja. The word praja refers to one who takes birth, ja. Therefore, Prithu Maharaj guaranteed protection for prajanam, all living entities who took birth in his kingdom. Praja refers not only to human beings, but also to animals, trees, and every other living entity. It is the duty of the king to give all living entities protection and food. The fools and rascals of modern society have no knowledge of the extent of the responsibility of the government. Animals are also citizens of the land in which they happen to be born, and they also have the right to continue their existence at the cost of the Supreme Lord. The disturbance of the animal population by wholesale slaughter produces a catastrophic future reaction for the butcher, his land, and his government. Our American president some time ago, Lyndon B. Johnson, had in mind that he wanted to establish a great society. That was his slogan, the Great Society. And his idea was to have all sorts of welfare projects following in the footsteps of our previous president, Roosevelt. He was quite a capable politician. He knew how to get people to agree to things. He knew how to play the game. And that was his idea, to establish all these projects that would make America great again, that would create a great society. But he was a cattle rancher by occupation, or he owned a big cattle ranch for killing animals. And within his presidency, the Vietnam War became the center of American military engagement. And the citizens hated him for sending so many Americans to a foreign country to be wiped out by the enemy. And not only for sending so many Americans, but for atrociously attacking the native people of the country. So he would take rest at night, but outside the White House they'd be chanting, "Hey, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today?" Oh, in the later years of his presidency, he couldn't say a word about the Great Society because he'd neglected his duty of protecting all the citizens. He was engaged in killing the citizens, animal citizens, and so his human citizens had to be sent off to foreign countries for a terrible war. So it's indicated here. The wholesale slaughter produces catastrophic future reactions for the butcher, the land, his government, everything. So much responsibility lies with the king. It's not that everyone rushes to get elected, get appointed, get in there somehow to be the president or king or ruler. But then once they're in, they don't know what to do. They don't realize the full extent of their responsibilities. And most often they don't have the power necessary to execute their responsibilities. They have neither training nor culture nor power. What will they do there except create confusion and chaos? So the Prithu Maharaj was the ideal head of state. He knew that I'm here because I've been engaged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You speak all these great things about me, but really I'm just a servant of Krishna. And these are my duties: to protect the citizens, to see that everyone's engaged according to Varnashram. Yes, there was a third thing. Rakshita. Yeah. To see that everyone's employed. And for this reason, Dandatara Raja. I'm the person who carries the danda. Danda, it can be taken that he has the right to punish unruly citizens, or danda can be symbolic, just like a sannyas danda. It not really used for anything. We don't hit anyone, but it's symbolic. Similarly, the ruler carries a scepter. A scepter, yes, kind of what would you say, a rod. Not because he's going to hit people with it, but because it symbolizes his position as the head of state. Aham Dandadara Raja. So I've been yojita, engaged by the Supreme Lord as the head of state, so I have these duties to perform. This was the statement of King Prithu. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna. It was mentioned that a Brahmana is someone who knows Brahman, and Brahman ultimately means the personality of Godhead. So coming to this movement and somehow coming to take it serious, then can one say that devotees are knowing the truth, or meaning knowing Brahman, or does it mean some deeper realization in our perception of reality? Like, what is that? How? At which stage does one say he's a Brahmana because he knows Brahman?
Yes, one has to know at least the spirit soul. Everyone is thinking that matter is ultimate, that the body is the self, and they don't know the nature of the Atma within the body. So at least one has to know that. One has to know the nature of spirit. Beyond that, one should know the nature of the Supreme Spirit. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti. Even one may be an impersonalist Brahmin, but at least he has to be concerned with the ultimate truth. Yes?
Theoretically or practically?
At least theoretically, but then practically also. Sama, Dhamma, Tapa, Shocham, Kshanti, Arjuna. These are practical things. You can see whether someone's straightforward, whether someone is peaceful in his way of life, whether he's self-controlled, whether he's tolerant, straightforward, I'd mentioned. Then Jnana, Vijnanam, Astika, whether he's religious, whether he has knowledge, and Vijnanam, the ability to apply it. Jnanam, Vijnanam. He has to have both. Not that I know that I'm spirit soul, but I can't stop gambling, intoxicants, meat-eating, illicit sex. Then what kind of Brahmin is he? He has to know, but know implies that he knows how to control his senses, how to control his mind. Is that okay? Something else?
Hare Krishna. We as a movement, ready and quickly to criticize the current leaders, especially in contrast to such leaders as we've heard. But isn't it that the situation for the current leaders is...
You're slowly,
okay,
distinctly, clearly. I remember.
Okay, so, but isn't it that the situation for the current leaders is very difficult in leading people who are already so corrupted?
The present leaders, their position is difficult. Yes, it's difficult. The leaders of society, their position is difficult, and it's more difficult because they're unfit. And you can't just, yes, we can excuse him that he's taken the Kshatriya position and has the training of a Shudra. We can say, yes, it's understood, it's understandable, he's doing his best, but he's a Shudra, he shouldn't be there. And if he made it his business somehow to get there, then who's he going to blame? Or Prabhupada points out, you elected him, why can you complain? So the whole thing is a mess. But what it should be is that there's someone capable in charge. Otherwise, everyone suffers. In a business, if the CEO doesn't know how to run an organization, then the people will be wrongly engaged, working conditions will be lousy, sales will be down, and eventually the business will go under. If he's capable, then the workers are happy, sales will be brisk, company thrives, because there's somebody who's a good Vaishya in charge. But if you have a good Vaishya in charge of the state, then the state just becomes a business, how to maximize profit for the shareholders, whoever they are. Is that okay?
Okay, thank you very much. But what would be like a constructive criticism or like a plan what to do first? Like, we are, of course, very much against slaughterhouses, but if there would be a person who now would radically close all the slaughterhouses, let's say in Germany, which is definitely also to the upset of the economy and the people involved.
The economy will survive. They have to be bold. If they need to do everything in 2 steps, then this is my own thought. Ban advertising of every sort for all these 4 sinful activities. You can sell alcohol, but you can't advertise it in any way, shape, or form. You can sell cigarettes, but you can't advertise it in any way, shape, or form. You can sell meat, fish, and eggs, but you can't advertise them. And you can carry on gambling, but no advertising whatsoever. Those businesses will shrink, and the press will cry bloody murder because they make money advertising all those things. But there, if you think it's too radical to stop all 4 activities, stop advertising. Advertising alcohol just means you're advertising, encouraging the citizens to suffer. You're encouraging crime, you're encouraging suffering, you're encouraging bad health. And these things have a toll on the economy also. How much money is lost because people are out for ill health, they're in hospital for tuberculosis or what have you. Someone told me that last week the Prime Minister of India banned online gambling completely, just like that. I didn't verify the report, but that's what I was told. Just like that, and that's a multi-crore industry. You just banned it, stopped. So that's what the state should do. Gandhi also, he was told that if you ban alcohol, the taxes are helping fund education. He said, all right, let the people be illiterate. So the head of state should be strong. No, not that you make a deal with Kali that will let you continue all over the state. No, restrict it. It will leave you hardly a place left. There's so many things. If the Brahmins take charge, they'll advise the king, promote agriculture so that you're not dependent on other countries for your food. What kind of food security, top tier. And not just big mechanical farms, but engage your citizens. Because all your mechanical stuff, it's all dependent on petrol, which you have to import and spend so much of your treasury on. Engage the unengaged in agriculture. Engage the animals, engage the human beings in this useful occupation. We don't need casinos. The human being can live without casinos, but he can't live without food. So you engage people in the real business. And you protect the citizens, the animals. You should be strong. And if you're weak, get out of the way. Ishvara Bhava. Kshatriya has to be, Ishvara Bhava means the nature of taking charge. Ishar is a take charge man, a controller. So there are people who, there was a report, who was that general who took over Pakistan in a bloodless coup? I've forgotten his name. Anyway, overnight, he and some other generals took charge of the government. And they did this. So there was a press interview. When are you going to have elections? What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about that? So he answered the questions. At the end, they asked a personal question. How do you feel about what you're doing? To tell you the truth, I like being in charge. That's Ishvara Bhava. You put 10 men in a room, one man will take charge. He'll be the leader. If there is one among the 10. But if you've got a leader, then the others, they'll follow. Okay, tell me what to do. What do I do now? What do I do next? How do I do this? But there'll be one person who says, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this. We're going to do this. Any organization has to have someone taking charge. If there's no one in charge, then there's no one in charge. They'll say no one's home. A business with no one in charge, not going to work. So there has to be someone who likes to take charge. For an army, there has to be someone who wants to be a general, wants to take charge, wants to take risks. Your Julius Caesar, your Patton, your whoever they are, Rama, they take charge. They don't get to be the leader by just following. They have a take charge mentality. Ishvara Bhava. Yes. Oh, the phone, microphone.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a question about Varnashrama system. So it's considered that it's like the basis of the healthy society. And I wanted to ask you to share with us your opinion. How can we improve the implementation of the Varnashrama system in the modern society?
How can we improve the implementation of Varnashram in the modern society? Well, first we could implement it in our own society. That would help. Before we venture out to tell the world how to organize themselves, we should organize our own house according to Varnashram. So some should be engaged in agriculture. Some should be engaged in, agriculture and trade. Some should be engaged in management and leadership. Some should be engaged in education and spiritual guidance. And some should just be assisting. We should organize our own affairs like that. Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Vaishnava is not a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. He's transcendental. But still, everyone is good at a particular kind of work. So we should become very expert in our own society to arrange things in that way. And these agricultural communities, Prabhupada saw as the place to show the example of Varnashram. A proper society in microcosm. We grow our own food, we protect our animals, we get milk, we build houses and grow. Even Prabhupada wanted that grow cotton and so on. Make your own cloth, grow your own food, build your own homes. These are the first three things. You need cloth, you need food, you need a place to live. So if the devotees can develop that expertise, how to grow food, how to make cloth, how to build houses, then you have the beginning of a good society. And how to worship Krishna. Because it doesn't matter who's doing which engagement, but everyone should be engaged in Krishna's service, then everyone is good. Without Krishna, it doesn't matter how well we organize things, it'll be a failure. But if we organize things in Krishna consciousness, then we can show the world, here's the way to live. 4 occupations, and then 4 social orders, brahmana, brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. Yes?
Our society is doing a lot of sinful activities, and many devotees are now grihastas, going to work like me, and so they automatically are indirectly
many grihastas do what?
Going to work.
Yes.
And so they are entangled in also in this society because of their work, and so indirectly they are also entangled in these sinful activities. So
everyone is indirectly entangled in sinful activities. Anything you spend on, anything you do, there'll be. Even if you walk across the grass, you're entangled in sinful activities because you're walking on ants and other creatures who have a life to live. Sadosham apina tyajet. Even though there may be some fault, one shouldn't give up one's duties. Of course, one shouldn't take on an occupation that's sinful, butchery business, and so on. But if you look for a business that's absolutely pure, you won't find it. Not possible. Sadosham apina tyajet. They'll all have some fault. Dhume nagniri vavrata. As fire is covered by smoke, then everyone's engagement will have some fault in it. That's the material world. You'll never find a perfectly pure occupation. But everyone should be still engaged according to their nature. And then it should be connected with devotional service, and then purity comes about. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
As we spoke about the Varnashram Dharma, Brahmacharya ashram is like the base from one point of view for the whole sane society. But can you tell us a bit about the history of the Brahmacharya ashram, especially in its kind of more or less modern implementation? Like how
I don't understand where you want me to tell you the history of the Brahmacharya ashram, starting in what time frame and
maybe as much as possible, but like what is the essence of it? Because sometimes I think the Brahmacharya ashram is maybe misunderstood. It's kind of a new, I wouldn't say like new ego, but sometimes we
new ego.
Like we identify too much with the externalities of it and we might miss the point.
Naham Vipro Nadar Patir Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'm not a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, Gopi Parda, Bhartapada Kamaleo, Dasa Dasanudas. I'm a servant of Krishna, that's all. But just as there's some occupational duty, so there are different stages. Student life, married life, retired life, renounced life. So, as children go to school, that's normal. But they go to terrible schools. That's not normal. They should go to a school where they learn control of the mind, control of the senses, humility, how to serve the spiritual master. That kind of school. They should learn reading, writing, arithmetic, some science, some geography. But they just go to some nonsense school and get crammed with useless information and no culture. They don't know how to control. They become big men, but they can't control their minds. They can't control their senses. They don't know who they are. They don't know what the purpose of life is. Then what kind of education do they have? So there should be proper education, brahmachari, celibate. That's the first thing. You go to your schools and universities and it's like a brothel. Yeah, it's just a sex fair. Well, that kind of education, that's miseducation, the worst sort. Brahmachari, and brahmachari education. Then they can become proper grihasthas. Otherwise, he can't control hasn't learned how to control his senses. What kind of grihastha will he be? And how can he become a vanaprastha? Is that okay?
Yeah, following that, is the assumption true that brahmachari ashram is necessarily a temporary affair because it has to go either into grihastha or into the sannyas direction?
No, that's rubbish. That's a concocted idea that brahmachari ashram is temporary because one either has to, at some point one has to decide, now am I going to become a sannyasi or am I going to get married? Well, if I can't handle sannyas, then I should get married. That's all rubbish. Not true at all. One can remain brahmachari for his whole life. In Gaudiya Math, there are many career brahmacharis. They remain brahmachari whole life. Didn't take sannyas, but didn't get married. Remained brahmachari. There's no injunction like that at some point the brahmachari has to decide whether he's going to be a sannyasi or get married. No, if he likes he can marry, then he's not obviously going to be a sannyasi right away, and he's no longer a brahmachari. But if he's not marrying, he can remain brahmachari forever. It's just a nonsense idea. Either, choose now, fork in the road, brahmachari, sannyasi or grihastha. No. If you're happy as a brahmachari, stay happy forever. Why this force? There's nothing in Shastra like that. Nor did Prabhupada give anything like that. No. Okay, now you're 35, you've been a brahmachari for 7 years, what are you going to do? Grihastha or sannyas? No. Brahmacharis can stay brahmachari. Wonderful ashram. Sannyas has so much extra duty, extra weight, extra responsibility. And brahmachari is already practically a sannyasi. He's not having sex, he's not involved with women. So he doesn't have to worry how to renounce. He's already renounced. If there's a special need for preaching, then he can accept sannyas. Otherwise, he can serve as a brahmachari and be happy.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your wonderful lecture. One question in this direction. When we were in Zurich, Devaki Mataji said that the renunciation of someone who didn't go through the Grihastha ashram is not complete. Because
well, I don't know how. I have a lot of respect for Devaki Mataji. I don't know if she said that, and I don't know if she did, what she would have meant by it. But there's no such thing. Shukadeva Goswami is not complete in his renunciation because he never became a householder. The 4 Kumars are not complete in their renunciation because they didn't become householders. Narad Muni is not complete in his renunciation because he didn't become a householder. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was not complete in his renunciation because he didn't become a householder. I don't think we can defend that position. Or I don't know how I would ever defend it.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, on the point what you made before was a question about implementing Varnashram Dharma in society. I think that's a good idea, but what I can observe is sometimes in our ISKCON society that all these ashrams and varnas, we chose sometimes more according to ego than the occupation, or what is really our qualification. And we also don't have somebody who should tell somebody, oh, you Shudra, you should work on the land.
You don't have strong leadership. If you have strong, capable leadership, they'll look at it and they'll say, this person's in the wrong place. When you've got a really, Tamal Krishna Goswami, he's a first-class manager. What is this man doing here? He should be here. He'd see right away. This man is, you need this man. You'd see right away. Kadamba March, expert manager. You'd see this man for this man for that. Not just because of my ego. Not that because someone's eager to be a GBC man, you make him a GBC man despite having no managerial capability whatsoever. Why would you do that?
No, but sometimes we see that somebody also chooses an ashram according to some external maybe things what goes better. Somebody maybe take up a higher ashram or something for some sort of prestige or some...
Well, we want to doesn't mean people shouldn't take up higher ashrams, but they shouldn't cultivate false prestige. People get married also for false prestige. People remain brahmacharis for false prestige. People become vanaprasthas. The problem is not the 4 ashrams, the problem is false prestige, false ego. So I should take the position because that's how I can best serve Krishna, not because that's how I'll think I'm the best thing since rice, dal, chapatis. That I'm egotistical doesn't mean that I shouldn't be in any ashram, or shouldn't be in a higher ashram even, but it means I need to control my ego. Particularly leaders, the leader take charge people, they'll be, have some concern about their prestige. Brahmin doesn't care. You call me what you want. Kshatriya that's the nature of the Kshatriyas. They don't tolerate insult very well. All right. It comes with a certain, if you If you take charge, you don't want to be disobeyed. You're not going to tolerate disobedience. All right, if you don't want that, then put some nice guy in charge who doesn't mind what people do, and you'll have a mess. So everything comes with a risk of false prestige. The Brahmin thinks he's smarter than anyone. Kshatriya thinks he's more powerful than anyone. The Vaishya thinks he's more wealthy than anyone. Shudra thinks he's a man of the earth. He's more humble than everyone.
How much can a strong leader, as you mentioned, for example, Tamal Krishna Goswami, how much can they implement or can make some comments or suggestions about ashram? I mean, I understand for Varna.
Everyone can make suggestions. Brahmin can make suggestions, Kshatriya can make suggestions, the father can make suggestions, mother can make suggestions. Everyone can make suggestions.
Yeah, but how, you know, or let's say give instructions, let's put it like this, because
Well, it depends how much I'm under your control. If you're my spiritual master, then, you know, I had better listen to what you say. Temple president, if he's capable, if he's, you know, sharp, I should listen to what he says. If he doesn't know up from down, then maybe I don't want to listen to him about, you know, making a 25-year decision. But still, take it on board. What do the leaders think? What do the Vaishnavas think? I've seen disasters just because somebody's so headstrong. Everybody's saying no, and she's saying yes. He's saying yes. Everybody's warning him, don't do this, and he's saying, no, I'm going to do it. All right. So it's two things, advice and blessings. The Vaishnavas like to take good advice, and they also look for blessings in any enterprise. The start of the Kurukshetra war, Arjuna shoots an arrow that lands at the lotus feet of Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya. Please give your blessings. I have to fight, even against you. Please give your blessings. So then Drona shoots an arrow touching his head. Yes. So that's the nature of a cultured human being. Wants the blessings of superiors. Not, I'm just going to do it because blah, 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 blah. I interviewed a devotee many years ago for a Back to Godhead article about the New Delhi temple. One devotee had been very instrumental in doing a lot of the work. So I was asking him about his history and so on. His father owned the franchise for Sylvania light bulbs for all of India. He had a big industrialist. And the son was working for the father. And he was doing this and doing that, you know, responsible positions. And then the sons said, and when I was whatever age, my father gave me permission to start my own business. As Westerners, we think, it gave you permission? You want to start a business, you start a business. What's permission? What are you talking about? But Vedic culture, no, parents, and my father gives permission, I'll start a business. With the blessings of my father, with the blessings of my superiors, I'll take on some responsible work. with the blessings of the Brahmins. And you know, what are all these things about? Yes, we want blessings. Yes.
Maharaj, you talked about the necessity of self-control, and in the Gita it says you can only give up a lower taste if you have a higher taste. So what is the best mean? But what is the best means to always have the higher taste?
Chant Hare Krishna. The best means to have a higher taste always. Chant Hare Krishna, take Krishna prasadam, be engaged in service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. These things. If we don't do anything spiritual, then how will we give up? We'll think, no, this is my life. Intoxicants, gambling. But if one is engaged in the service of Krishna, one will feel happy. Then what is that? Brahmabhuta Prasannatma. As soon as one comes to the platform of understanding that he's spirit soul, he becomes happy. Nashochati nakanchati is nothing to lament for, nothing to hanker for. Param Drishtva Nivartate. He's got something better. Is that okay? Yeah.
Back to the question of the ashrams and brahmachari ashram, because here in Simhachalam sometimes we had some issues between Grihastha ashram and brahmachari ashram. Maybe you can say something.
Some issues between them?
Between these two ashrams.
Issues? What's the issue? If you want me to say something, we have issues. Okay, you have issues.
More or less, different things. So many things like misunderstanding on both sides. Wanting to participate, maybe brahmachari is more in like almost social dealings, maybe, but which are not like against their ashram, and the brahmachari said, no, actually we are brahmacharis, we don't want to do that, or so. But in general, maybe you can tell something about how to bring more harmony between two ashrams, especially if they are kind of close together.
Don't have so much to do with the grihasthas.
But it's a little difficult when we live kind of together in this community.
Anyway, brahmacharis generally don't have much to do with grihasthas. That's what Prabhupada said. Grihasthas have a different way of life. Husband, wife, children. That's money and grihastha life. So that's good. But the brahmacharis, they have no business with women. They have no business with children. They have no business with making money. So why should they be... what's the word? Like one unit with the grihasthas, socializing with the grihasthas. Grihasthas have a different society. Brahmacharis have their own society. Why should it all be, from a social perspective? From a Vaishnava perspective, everyone's a servant of Krishna. Everyone's equally respectable. Everyone's on the spiritual platform. But in terms of social life, if that's what you're talking about, then brahmacharis should be a little aloof from the grihasthas. Just a general principle. Sannyasis don't just hang out with the grihasthas. They should be a little aloof. Not that we shun the grihasthas, we're brahmacharis, we spit at the grihasthas, not like that. But just they're pursuing one part of one path, we're pursuing a different path. So a little distance, little separation. Schools should not be a place where boys and girls mix for so-called education. It's wrong. Men and women should be separate. That's society, that's civilization. Not that men and women mix freely. No, little mixing. What is that? Grihasthashram. All right, you want some companion? All right, get married. So then that's all right. But the brahmacharis, they're not meant for mixing with women. So their society is a little different. Not that we say, well, everyone's everything, same, this, that, throw all the men and women together in the kitchen, it's all transcendental. Prabhupada was very careful about that. On the altar, no, mix everybody, it's all, no. Prabhupada was talking to one GBC man, he said the men and women, because Prabhupada knew what would happen, or what was happening, men and women should not be together on the altar. Means, dressing the deities, curtains are closed. Men and women should not be on the altar together unless the husband is there. Then someone said, oh, unless some man is there. Prabhupada said, no, unless the husband is there. And it means men and women shouldn't mix. You want some mixing? All right. Grihasthashram. Brahmacharis shouldn't mix. So then it follows that the brahmacharis should be a little distant from the grihasthas. The grihasthas are concerned with family life. Brahmacharis avoid family life. But for the service of Krishna, we all join the kirtan, we all engage in temple service, we all preach, we all distribute books. No difference. But just because you said social issues, that's the first thing. There's brahmacharis and grihasthas should be a little separate. And the sannyasis more with the brahmacharis. Is that okay? Yes.
Sorry, it seems like a burning topic somehow. But the question comes then, how is the maintenance of the brahmachari ashram? I mean, I get it, okay, they should be separated, but mostly brahmacharis and sannyasis depending on the income of the household,
and
or more or less.
vanaprasthas also.
To some degree, yes.
Brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis are all meant to be supported by the grihasthas financially.
Yeah, so, but if there's a separation, if
Just
that...
like it's not absolute separation. The little brahmacharis would go house to house and beg for some grains, some chapatis. So who answers the door? It's the lady. So, mother, can I have some bhiksha? He asks for something. Yes. But it doesn't say, can I come in? Can I stay for a couple of hours? What do you think of, the Russian-Ukrainian war? No. Separate is not like we refuse to see a woman, we refuse to see a grihastha, but there's separation. It's not absolute separation. And especially here in the West, it has to be a little bit tempered because everyone's grown up in a different atmosphere and the surrounding atmosphere is different. But not that we just adopt wholesale the values of the outside world. They've got it wrong. I was at an airport early in the morning one time, and the check-in agents were just coming to work, some of them. So one of the ladies who's the check-in agent arrives at her station. Hi, Jack, and gives him a big hug. It's uncivilized. But that's normal. Sadhasha sarvabhutana tasyam jagadis. They think it's normal. We see some guy we work with, we just give him a big hug. A brahmachari doesn't do that. Or even a civilized householder doesn't do that. Hey Jack, you're not my husband. Good morning, happy to see you. That's it. But you have a cat and dog society, they just don't know how to behave.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
They were never trained as brahmacharis. Yes.
We have, especially here in Simhachalam, the situation that we have many youngster groups.
You have many?
Many groups of young devotees, young people, devotee childs. And we can observe that when they come, they are mixing freely.
Devotee child?
Devotee children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they mix freely? That they can mix freely. Devotee children, 5, 10. They can mix freely.
Talking more about 17 to 30.
They shouldn't mix. And the parents should see to their responsibility of getting them married. In modern society, it's just, first we see to your education, then we see to your postdoc, then we get you started on your career, and then we think about your marriage. The girls. Totally backwards, upside down, and wrong. It's the duty of the father to see that the girl is properly married. At puberty, actually. But then when the fathers are remiss, when they're irresponsible, then the daughters have no husbands, and then they have to market themselves, which is degrading for them, humiliating. And what do they have to do? Give out free samples, or the whole thing is terrible. The big losers are the women. Oh, it's the duty of the father to give protection to the daughter, then to hand her over to a suitable husband. And then in old age she should be taken care of by her sons.
I mean, these programs are organized over the jurisdiction of the EU, the European Union, these projects. So
the European Union what?
I don't know the details, maybe Gopikita Mataji.
Just speak.
You didn't understand.
Clearly.
Okay, sorry Maharaj. These groups come under the jurisdiction of the EU, the European Union.
Yeah.
So
Which groups are you talking about?
We have this EU volunteering groups where many young people come and stay for a time in Simhachalam.
Okay, you have some woofers, you have some people who come and do some farm work and so on under you. Okay, so they may need a little more space. I can't say exactly how it works with the European Union's rules. I'm not, I don't live in EU countries. But you have to follow the law, obviously. But apart from that, it's up to you to figure out how you're going to manage it. Are you going to say, well, we go by your standard and all the boys and girls can bunk together and we don't care? Or do you say, well, we're kind of a traditional farm community and in our tradition, the boys are over here and the girls are over there. Those are your barracks. You live here, you live there. And obviously you can't say to them, don't look at one another, never say hi, can't work in the same field. We understand it's not, they haven't volunteered to be brahmacharis and so on. So the tactful manager has to figure out how to preserve your community values while at the same time giving others the chance to participate. That's called expert. So some expert has to take charge of how to do it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
We can't expect newcomers that you bow down, you're blocking this, you bow down the wrong direction, you touch this with your left hand, immediately barrage them with all the rules and regulations, and they just came to find out what you were about. Now they found out what you're about. You're a batch of crazy fanatics. So it's not like that. But you do have values. You can't come in the temple room drunk and roll on the floor and, pinch the girls and whatever. No. It's not. We have some, we do have some values here. Whether it's a church or whether it's a temple, or even if it's a non-profit organization, they'll say, no, we have some, we have our corporate ethos. We have some standards here. Perfectly fine. And if you don't like our standards, look at another company. So you have to arrange it suitably. Shall we stop here? I think we should. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.